We're blessed because God's ways are good for us. We read in Exodus 20 the Ten Commandments. And when we hear that, we might groan, we might complain. What, God? You have 10 things that we have to remember, 10 things that we have to do. And many of them are negative. It's no, 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 thou shalt not. It's just over and over again. It's negative. But on the other hand, there's only 10, right? Only 10. I mean, if I was going to give you a quiz, you'll have an empty space in your bulletin, right? We're going to do a quiz right now. I'd say write down the 10 Commandments. Y'all could do that, right? Maybe if I'd warned you last Sunday, you would have studied. And 10, there's only 10. That'd be easy. We say, God, we can handle 10, but then we listen to the rabbis, and the rabbis who read the rest of the Old Testament, they say, oh, there's not 10, there's 613. I can do 10. Maybe not 613. But then there's Jesus. Have you seen what Jesus did? You read the Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus doesn't just say, okay, guys, the Ten Commandments say don't murder. So, guys, don't go out and murder people. Jesus says, if you have hatred, if you have anger, if you have unforgiveness in your heart toward your brother, go deal with it. Man, if it's just not murdering, that's pretty easy. My guess is most of you have never murdered anybody, right? But anger in your heart? Unforgiveness? Hatred? Man, that's easy. We can do that. Nobody knows. We can do it in secret. But it's there and it's tearing us up. Come on, Jesus, why'd you have to do that? Or adultery. I mean, not committing adultery, that's fairly easy. It's right there in the Ten Commandments. And what's Jesus go and do? Jesus says, if you look at a woman lustfully, that's transgressing the law. So we start with 10. 10 are bad enough. And then 613. And then Jesus just expands it. He deepens it. That's hard. I don't know about you, but I don't like hearing the word no. There's a part of me that since childhood has verged on being an anarchist. Maybe some of y'all too. I don't remember if it was second grade or third grade, but right about then we moved from Hayama, Japan to Yokosuka, Japan, where we're living on base. And our house was perfect. In the backyard, there was a little hill leading on, connected to a bigger hill. And then immediately in our backyard was a cliff with a cave at the top. So if you're a second, third grade boy, I don't know, y'all girls might like this too, and you see a cliff and you see a cave, what do you think you're supposed to do with it? You're supposed to climb the cliff and go in the cave, right? But what do you think my parents said? Oh, there's a cliff out there, boys. Go climb. There's a cave. Go explore the caves. They said, no. Don't do that. I didn't want to hear no. I wanted to hear yes. I don't like hearing no. Read the commandments. No, no, no. Maybe you have some of the anarchist in you too. But our problem is that we're missing the context here. We miss how they start. Exodus 20, verse 1, God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. The context doesn't start with verse 3 where we start saying the command, do, don't. What we call the Ten Commandments starts with God saying, this is who I am. You know me. You have experienced me. I'm the one that saved you. You were slaves in Egypt. You were in serious trouble, and I went down and I rescued you. You know me. I didn't just come along one day and say, well, I'm bigger than you, and I'll beat you up. I'll even zap you out of existence if you don't jump through all these 10 hoops. No, God comes along, saves them, brings them out of the land of slavery. We miss that context. It's easy to miss that we're blessed because God's ways are good for us. We can see it reiterated in Deuteronomy chapter 10, starting at verse 12. So now, O Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you? Only to fear the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and to observe the Lord's commands and decrees that I'm giving you today for your own good. God gives us these commands as a blessing because they're good for us. See a similar trajectory in the New Testament as in the Old. Israel got these commands, Exodus 20 and through the rest of the law. Throughout the rest of the Old Testament, they say, hey, God, we don't like all that no stuff. We're just going to do our own thing. We get to the Gospels. We see Jesus in John chapter 8. John tells us that he was talking here, starting about verse 31, to the people who had believed him. These are people that are favorably disposed toward him. They like Jesus. Jesus said to them, if you hold to my teaching, then you will really be my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, we've all heard that last bit, right? You shall know the truth shall set you free. Almost every college you go to has it carved in their buildings. But we forget that first part, that context. If you hold to my teaching, then you're really my disciples. You're really my students. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. We hear that, and we say, yeah, Jesus, we like that freedom stuff. Set us free. But if you were to read what comes after that in John chapter 8, you see that Jesus' original audience wasn't too keen on that. Their immediate response was, what do you mean, free? We've never been slaves of anybody. We're already free. What are you talking about, Jesus? By the end of the chapter, these people who had believed him were ready to kill him. They missed the context. They missed the context that this part that Jesus is talking about, if you hold to my teaching, is based on his love, based on who he is, based on what he's doing for them, based on what he's done for them. So that when we today as Christians hear the word of Jesus saying, if anybody holds to my teaching, then he will be my disciple. Then he will know the truth will set him free. That's based on the fact that Jesus loved us and gave himself for us. Just as in the Old Testament, the law, the commands were given us. Because God rescued the Israelites and he loved them. We're blessed because God's ways are good for us. Or consider what we saw in our responsive reading today. Psalm 19. The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. Have any of you ever been in a place, say recently, where your soul needed refreshing? Your soul was tired. Your soul was parched. You didn't know how you could go on. The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes is a synonym for law. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. Now, I don't know if any of us would want to admit to being simple, but how about we just paraphrase that as people who don't know what to do? People who might be confused. People who might not see the way forward. I know I've been there. Statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. That's good for me. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. My heart needs some joy. Some of your hearts, you need joy today. Some of you, you're barely holding on. We're blessed because God's ways are good for us. Continues, the commands of the Lord. Notice these synonyms here. Law of the Lord, statutes of the Lord, precepts of the Lord, commands of the Lord. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The idea here is that God's word in our lives, God's law, God's commands, is shining light in our lives, shining light around us, so that instead of wandering in the darkness, instead of stumbling into holes, instead of tripping over that stage in that fellowship hall that's set there and you slam your shin into it, and you say, oh no, I broke my leg. That was a few years ago, I'm sorry. You have light. You can see where you're going, because God's word is a light into our path. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The decrees of the Lord are firm, and all of them are righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. What would y'all do if somebody came in and said, hey, a dump truck just came and dumped a whole load of gold out in a parking lot? Would your thought be, oh, that's nice? Or, hey, there might be some needy people in the community. I'm sure they'll come by eventually. Maybe we should put it on Facebook and say, hey, free gold. I guess at least some of you would say, gold, let's go get some gold. And the idea here is that God's law, God's commands, God's statutes, God's word is so valuable to us, we seek it out. We set other things aside so we can get it. They are sweeter than honey from the honeycomb. By them your servant is warned, and keeping them there is great reward. That's why we say we're blessed, because God's ways are good for us.